Well, hello everybody, Tuesday to you. Let's see if you guys are able to be in here, because it looks like, ah, internet issues. It was working 10 seconds ago. I swear to God. I swear to God. I mean, what are you gonna do? It's saying that my kilobits are nowhere. They're just non-existent. Why are you having problems, internet? We was here. We was good to go. Well, I'm glad that you guys are here with me, if, in fact, you are here with me, as we are getting ready to do another evening of live stream goodness with some fantastic indie authors, as we are going to be finishing Bigfoot Found by Tim D. Smith. And we're going to be reading a short story from Space Wizards, Volume 1. No, it is not my short story, but it is a short story. Yes. Yes. Ooh, are things coming back? Maybe. Maybe things are returning, ladies and gentlemen. So I think I have determined what the issue with my internet may be. And it's not a happy issue, but it is cats. You gotta love 'em, right? That's my story. Oh, that's my story. I ain't got a witness, and you know I can't prove it. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Because I went down there to check it today because we're having intermittent internet issues here at the house again. And where the Ethernet cable plugs into the back of the router is kind of pulled out a little bit. And it ain't supposed to be that way. So I get the feeling I'm going to need to invest in a new router. Sigh, sigh, scream. But once again, imminently fixable and something that we can do. So hopefully you guys are all in and running now. It looks like we are back and showing live everywhere. So pray that it continues this way for us as the evening goes on. So let's start ourselves once again, shall we? Hello, good evening, happy Tuesday to all of you. We are coming together tonight to finish our read of Bigfoot Found. Have you been here with us all along? If you have, fantastic. I am glad that you have been here. If you have not been here all along, it's okay. We'll call that okay. And you can pick up and catch up with everything that we have read so far. All of the chapters are available on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius, for your watching and listening pleasure. So stop on out there, check it out, get in there and catch the story, because tonight we finish Bigfoot Live, or Bigfoot Found, Bigfoot Live, Bigfoot Who, Bigfoot Why. Bigfoot Found will get finished this evening. I know you are all excited. I know I am excited. We don't have a lot left before the end, and we'll dive right into there momentarily. And in addition to the Bigfoot Live, oop, I know why this is having an issue. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Okay, so I don't know why I'm singing the Superman theme song. Um, we are going to be reading a short story from Space Wizards. Some of you may be familiar with Space Wizards. It is an anthology that I am one of the authors. Oh, happy days! It is not my story we will be reading. We will be reading a story called Ultimatum by Julie K. Quay. Quay. Quay? K? Don't know. I'm going to run with it. But it will give you a little taste of what Space Wizards is all about, and hopefully you will enjoy it as we dive into it. And yeah, once again, if you miss any part of it, I will have the recordings available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArmenius after the stream. So make sure you stop out there and check them out. If you want to help to support me in the work that I do here, subscribe to that YouTube channel. No, I am not monetized, but it does help to expand my reach. Eventually, one day, maybe I will be monetized. Who knows? But it also helps to get a larger audience for the indie authors and their work. So let's go ahead and get ready and dive in, shall we? And again, our reminder, because I am recording all of these chapters, I am not able to stop in the middle of a chapter to engage with you, but I will be happy to chat with you in between chapters. So if you have questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, any of the above, feel free to stop out and leave a comment on whatever channel you may be watching from. I am on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, X, Rumble, TikTok. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. Cross the mountain air, man. I've been everywhere. And you can join me on any of those. And I will be happy to respond to any comments that you may have in between the chapters. Now, wherever you happen to be, sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we dive into another evening of indie author live reading. Finishing up the book, Bigfoot Found by Tim D. Smith. By the way, if you do want to find out more about Tim D. Smith, the QR code on the screen will take you to his website. Go check him out. And then moving on to Ultimatum by Julie Quay in the anthology Space Wizards, Volume 1. But now, let's go ahead and get ourselves going, shall we? With Bigfoot Found by Tim D. Smith. Jumping into Chapter 39. Hi, Tyler, Petra said as all the other team members stared at him. He stepped from the vehicle and looked like a birthday boy arriving at a surprise party. Think you could drive us somewhere? I, don't know, Tyler said. Hopefully we won't be long, she continued. They just said to head on back. We usually ride in a convoy. I went this way. They won't need the truck for a while, Petra pressed. They will probably miss me. I'm worried. I didn't want to let you down, but I'm not going to be able to do it. The team looked at each other. Can we talk? Petra asked. She guided him away from the group before stopping and looking into the young man's eyes. Do you want Bigfoot to die? She asked. Well, No, but we don't either. Without you, he will die. What will we do? We need for you to drive somewhere. If the sheriff sees us, we're toast. We can't let that happen. They'll see me. They'll stop me and question me. Why would they stop you? You look like you're on official business. You are on official business. Where would we find a Bigfoot? Trust me, she cooed. I can't tell you. He might be back before they even know you're gone. You might be back before they even know you're gone. We're probably worried about nothing. I can't drive you guys, he started to say. Listen, let me drive. I'll put on your hat. You get in the back. If push comes to shove, we'll say we made you do it. You were innocent. I don't want anyone to be in trouble. Do you want Bigfoot to be in trouble? Tyler did not want Bigfoot to be in trouble. He wanted this to end. He started to walk away, no doubt to climb into the truck and drive back to Madisonville. It was all a big misunderstanding, that's all. Please, Petra said. Look, I believe. I really do. How do you know we'll find a Bigfoot? If he was, you know, here. Before Petra could respond and before anyone could commandeer the truck, the front door to the house opened and Tom, along with Bigfoot, walked slowly onto the porch. Tyler's eyes locked onto the scene and his mouth fell open. Petra could only watch. Is he real? Tyler asked finally. He's very real. He's hurt. I can't. I just can't believe it. Let me have your hat, she said, but Tyler remained motionless. He might have been in a state of shock. Tyler, listen. Let me have your hat and get in the back. He began walking, looking over his shoulder. The team breathed a sigh of relief and everyone approached the truck. He good to go? Billy asked. I told him I'd drive. He's going to ride in the back. Petra, can you drive a big truck like this? I'm sure it's straight shift. I never have, Petra said. I'm a quick study, though. Okay, you ride up front with me. Give me the hat. Billy? You? Yes, me. I've driven a school bus. I can drive this. It was all the encouragement she needed. Gable loaded first, followed by Robo and Rink. Bigfoot was being led to the truck, slowly and wobbly as Tyler watched with shocked attention. Rink, Gable said as they waited. What if, and I'm just saying what if Tinker didn't kill that girl? What are you trying to say? Do you have more information that you haven't shared with us? Rink asked. Her mind raced to the revelation that Gable had been carrying a pistol. No, I don't have any more information. Can Bigfoot lie? Gable, I can't think about this right now, she said, but then added, I don't think so. We've learned a lot, Rink. Maybe Bigfoot did it. Rink looked away as Bigfoot climbed inside. The truck rumbled to life and soon began rolling out of the driveway. They pulled onto Highway 68 and began driving toward Tellico. Several guard trucks passed them going in the other direction. Each time Billy tried to sink down into the seat and behind the steering wheel, hoping not to be spotted. The radio crackled and drivers spoke to each other. They were apparently lining up in Madisonville to convoy home. And then, in a most spectacular turn of events, an official voice came over the radio to make an announcement. Stand by for an all-points bulletin, the voice said. We have a bolo. Be on the lookout. Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun. What are we going to do, everyone? What are we going to do? Are they going to find our Bigfoot Found team? I don't know, but I get the feeling they will not be. Successful. No, they will lose, and the Bigfoot team will win. Yes, that is what I believe. That is what will be true. I am certain of it. Excellent. All right, I don't see any questions from anybody, so we will continue on with Chapter 40. For members of the Bigfoot research team, last known to be in the vicinity of Tellico, wanted for questioning concerning a recent crime committed in the Cherokee National Forest. Approach with caution. Team members could be armed and could be dangerous. Descriptions follow. Billy clicked off the radio. I feel like I might be sick, Billy said. We didn't do anything, Petra said. Well, we have now, but we didn't. Billy continued driving. If he could make it another mile, he was probably home free. The turn onto the gravel road would take them away from people. How did he get himself into these things? He hated it when someone even thought he was doing something wrong. He was a rule follower, always had been. Then something inside him clicked. You know, I don't care. We haven't done anything wrong. That's the spirit, Petra said, even though it was unconvincing. She was actually holding the door handle, because Billy was driving fast. I'm willing to go down for this, he said. Petra looked back at him, possibly in admiration, but maybe not. It was clear she was afraid. Billy pumped the truck brakes to slow enough to make the turn. That's when he saw the blue lights. It was clear almost immediately that it was a county vehicle, but it was unmarked. The sheriff or one of his deputies had spotted them. But instead of stopping, Billy continued on the gravel road as it began to climb and turn, rising above the valley. They were at least 3 miles from the top. If he could get there, he might possibly be able to aim the back of the truck away from the road, and Bigfoot could try to make an escape. The prospects of this situation ending well for anyone involved didn't look promising. Billy wrestled with the steering wheel around the curves as they climbed, and big erosion cutouts in the road bounced them in their seats. The sirens screamed and the blue lights danced off the overhanging limbs. Surely Tinker, or whoever was driving the car, knew there was really no outlet on this road. If they went to the top, they were trapped in a cul-de-sac on top of the world. If they took the only right turn, the road wound on for miles into North Carolina with no chance of exit. That in itself was out of the question. He was going to the top. Hold on, Billy said. I'm trying, Petra replied. I'm guessing we're not stopping? No. They climbed, and then another unexpected thing happened. Even though the road was almost one lane, though cars could pass each other going in different directions if they proceeded slowly. The car tried to pull beside Billy. At the next hairpin turn, though, it was forced to fall back once more. Then on the straightaway, the car tried again. Each time they came to a turn, the vehicle was forced to fall back. The left-hand side of the road was now bordered with a precipitous drop, with trees as the only thing that could stop a vehicle from plummeting hundreds of feet into the ravine. They couldn't be more than a mile from the top. The climax of this chase scene was rapidly approaching. On the next straight, the car accelerated to come up beside them again. If the car could get past, or at least get to the front panel of the truck, it could turn into them and stop their ascent to the top. But as it approached, it did a most unexpected thing. The driver turned into the back corner of the truck, colliding, and sent the truck lurching a bit sideways and, for a moment, facing down the hill, before Billy could wrestle the front of the truck straight once more. They continued climbing with the truck's engine whining to its breaking point on the steep grade. On what looked to be the last straightaway, the car made one last effort and drew alongside before gunning its engine to pass and cut them off. But another hairpin turn arrived suddenly, and a sharp turn into the front of the truck brought on a violent collision, rocking Billy and Petra in the front. Billy had time to see inside the car as it passed, and his worst nightmare was confirmed. It was Sheriff Tinker. When the vehicles collided, the weight of the truck proved too much for the unmarked unit, which bounced sideways, caught traction on its back tires, and lurched sideways even more, aiming down the mountain. The brakes caught no purchase on the loose gravel and dirt, and a cloud of dust followed the vehicle as it left the road and began down the mountain. It hit the first tree almost head on and bounced sideways, the car's momentum sending the right side higher than the left, causing it to begin what looked like a slow motion rolling of the car down the hill, aided by gravity. The blue lights flashed wildly on the surrounding limbs, and the siren did a sort of dying warble. The car tumbled 4 or 5 times before colliding with a tree and stopping with a sudden crash. Billy stopped and exited to look down the mountain where the car sat smoking several 100 feet below, the cruiser a mass of crumpled metal now, its roof upside down. From here, Billy could see the opening at the top of the of Buck Bald. Billy had a decision to make. He began to walk down into the ravine, holding trees as he descended. 100 yards down, he looked back to see Rink, Robo, and Harrison following him. Bigfoot, Tom, Tyler, and Petra stood looking down. He would have to take the chance that Tinker might have his weapon out and ready. There was a human being, albeit one that was probably a killer, trapped and dying. He wouldn't be able to live with himself if he allowed that to happen without trying to help. The engine popped and crackled below as smoke billowed out from the car's front. Other than that, Billy could hear no sound. His feet slid as he picked up speed, fighting the pull of gravity that tried to throw him to the depths of the canyon below. As he approached, he could see Tinker, half in and half out of the window and trapped under the heavy car. Upon arriving, the outcome of the chase was certain. If Tinker was indeed the killer, he was now answering to a higher power. Billy turned to climb back up the hill. They walked to the top of Buck Bald. It wasn't far, and when they strode through the small parking lot, they slowed and stopped. Small trees stirred at the end and opened, to allow another Bigfoot to exit, followed by 2 juveniles that were still as big as Robo. Bigfoot made a small sound that sounded like unspeakable gratitude and love. He walked away slowly from them and from Tom to join what must have been his family. He turned and looked back once, his big, forlorn eyes a steady gaze on Billy, and then they walked into the trees, silently, vanishing into the night. The team and Tyler stood and watched, as if no one wanted the moment to end. Finally, Billy spoke, mainly to Tyler, but to the rest as well. "We can never mention this part," he said. No one spoke. "If anyone finds out he's real, they're real. They'll never stop. This has to be our secret. If Bigfoot is to survive, no one can know." Silence. Finally, Rink spoke. "I'm in." "Me too." After each of them answered but Tyler, Billy turned the team's attention to him. "I'll never tell," he said, before he broke down and began to sob. Now, the idea that I have of what the military truck that they were driving was is something like a 5 ton or a FMTV. If you've seen military shows, they're the big, I mean, truck looking things. They've got the green canopy over the back, which would have closed in everybody from sight. They're big trucks. They're military grade trucks. Why would a police officer have been trying to ram one of those off the road? That is insane, because that just wouldn't have happened. Those trucks are big. I know. As a mechanic in the Army, I got to fix those kind of trucks. They're not little itty bitty trucks. They're big trucks. You are not pit maneuvering that thing in a car, you're gonna be out of luck. And it seems that Sheriff Tinker learned that lesson for himself. Oh, yes, I believe he did. All right, let's see if we have any questions. Bigfoot has been found, released into the wild. The sheriff who has been plaguing the team has gone ahead and driven himself off the road into a tree as he tried to do a pit maneuver and ram a military grade vehicle off the road. Yeah, that dude was a little bit crazy. He was a little bit country. He was a little bit rock and roll. He was a little bit tumble and slide. He was a little bit tree. All right, no questions. We continue on with Chapter 41. Billy used the radio and reported to an unknown voice that answered. Hello, this is Billy Mason, he began. Go ahead. We're on the road up to Buckbald, and there's been an accident. Someone needs to meet us up here. Then they sat on the back of the open transport vehicle as the night grew cool and the crickets serenaded their eternal song. Gable, Brink began, now that we have time to talk, what did you mean earlier? I was just thinking, Gable said. Tell me you had nothing to do with that girl's death, she said. I had nothing to do with it. I always look at all sides, though. That's all. I'm sorry, she said. Well, you took this right turn. You can see why. I can. It's okay. Think he'll make it? Harrison asked and was rewarded with sharp turns of each of their heads. I mean, Bigfoot. I do, Billy said. He'll be fine, Robo added. He's Bigfoot, man. So, what do we do now? Tyler asked. I guess lots of that is up to you, Billy said, not in an accusatory manner, but with acceptance of a situation that had spiraled out of control. I was helping you find Bigfoot, Tyler said, as if he had been mentally rehearsing. Tinker came upon us, swerved, and went down the hill. I think that's what happened. I'm glad we didn't kidnap you, Billy said. No way. I won't say anything of the sort. They saw the blue lights long before the patrol cars made it to their location, and they waited patiently. Billy thought to himself that this might be a long night. Whatever happens, Rink said to Billy, I'm really proud of you and glad I get to be a part of your life. That's nice, Billy said, before putting his arm around her shoulders and pulling her over onto his. I'm glad too. My head is spinning, she said. Yeah, mine too. In so many ways, Rink said, her voice trailing away. The vehicles, 4 of them, arrived, and officers exited with caution. They didn't have their weapons drawn, but they did have their hands on their holsters. You folks step away from the vehicle and show us your hands, the deputy from the first night said, walking in their direction. The team did as they were told. The scene unfolded and became apparent to the officers. Who is that? The deputy said. It's Tinker, Billy said. Have you been down there? We have. He didn't make it. 2 of the officers began to scramble down the bank anyway. We have orders to apprehend you. I'd like for each of you to get into the back of separate vehicles. We don't have warrants. You're not under arrest. At least not as of yet. We had orders from Tinker. We need to get some things straightened out. The team members looked to each other and walked toward the cruisers before they heard the crunch of gravel and saw headlights approaching. Dark vehicles, 2 of them, appeared at the last rise and pulled to a stop. FBI agents, clearly. Stop right where you are, one said. He too had his hand on his gun. Who all is here? This is Billy Mason. We're with the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. Is Tinker Carson with you? the agent asked. The deputies who had gone down to check on Tinker had climbed back up the hill and onto the road. They had heard the question. "He's deceased," one said. "Please explain," the agent continued. "He's had an accident." "We're taking these suspects into custody and to the Justice Center where we can sort things out," the first deputy said. "We have warrants for Tinker Carson for the murder of Carolyn Weislander," the agent said. After a beat, the deputy said, "Let's drive down to the station and sort this out." They left before an ambulance came to retrieve Sheriff Tinker. So the FBI figured out that the sheriff had done it. The sheriff. It looks to me like Bigfoot was right. It was the sheriff. He shot the sheriff, but he did not shoot the deputies. 'Cause the deputies were nice. They were polite peoples. All right, guys. Are we ready? I believe this might be the final chapter. 'Cause it's the final countdown. Do-do-do-do. We'll find out in a sec, won't we? As we start into Chapter 42. McGee Tyson Airport was not crowded at 7 a.m. as Rink and Billy sat and waited for their flight. They were the last of the team to leave. They sat side by side, their carry-on luggage at their feet, and leaned back in contemplation. "Looks like we made it," Billy said. "Our biggest adventure yet." Rink smiled. It was nice to see. The sight had been rare for a long time. Neither felt the need to talk, and they didn't, choosing instead to sit and wait, seemingly content. Rink heard it first, from far away, as if over a hillside in the dead of night. The long howl of Bigfoot. "I really need to change that," Billy said before he answered. "Hi, Ed." Billy listened, and Rink focused her attention to try and hear Ed's end of the conversation, but couldn't. "You haven't been able to connect with any of them?" Billy asked and waited. "I think Robo went with Petra. Couldn't tell you where. She's an incredible videographer in person. Cable? Who knows?" Billy leaned forward on his knees, and Brink put her hand on his back and moved her fingers around. "Yes, Harrison turned out to be just fine. But that's the thing, Ed. I'm going to Colorado with Rink. Her mother needs her help for a while. We're not going on location. Maybe not for a while. Maybe not ever." Billy looked at Rink, who smiled and bit her lip to choke back emotion. "No, I'm serious," Billy said, and waited. "I'm tired. We all are. We didn't sleep for days, and we've been through lots." Billy shook his head and laid the phone on his knee. Ed's voice was a garble as he spoke. "Want me to make static sounds or something so you can hang up?" Rink whispered. "It's all right. Listen, Ed, Ed, would you listen?" Billy asked and took a deep breath. "Let me talk." "Take care." Billy disconnected. "Are you sure?" Rink asked. "Do you not want to know more?" "I don't think I do," Billy said. Rink closed her eyes and breathed deeply herself. "Are you satisfied?" "I think I am now," Billy said. When the airline called their flight, Billy and Rink stood, held hands, and walked toward Colorado. The end. We hope you have enjoyed this reading of Bigfoot Found by Tim D. Smith. You can check out other books by Tim D. Smith by scanning the QR code on your screen. If you have enjoyed this reading, please subscribe to the channel. It helps to support me in my support of indie authors. Thank you. All right, guys, we have reached the end of Bigfoot Found. Dun, dun, dun. Billy is done searching for Bigfoot. Why? Because he found him. Yes, he found him most Most assuredly. How exciting for them. And now they're going to have to figure out what else to do with their lives. But what are we going to do with our lives? Why, we are going to move along into a short story from Space Wizards. Once again, if you would like to learn more, there will be a QR code on your screen for Space Wizards. Bottom right, if you happen to be in landscape mode, in the middle of the screen if you're in portrait mode. If you scan there, it will take you to Vanessa Finity's website where you can learn more about Bigfoot Found, about Space Wizards. And if you like the book and would like to support the indie authors who were involved in the book, go out there. There's multiple sites that you can pick it up from. The ebook is $3.99. Pick it up, take a read through, see what you think. But now we're going to get into a short story from Space Wizards. So let me start by telling you a little bit about what Space Wizards is. Space Wizards is an anthology that was written with wizards and space in mind. I wonder where that came from. The idea was essentially people who are magical beings of one sort or another as the protagonists. And it needs to have some kind of a sci-fi bent to it. Space, the final frontier. And so that's where these stories came together. And there are 10 different short stories in here for you. They are unconnected from each other than the idea of space and wizards. But they are all written by wonderful authors and all independently produced for this book. Vanessa Finity is the one who is the editor. She is one of the authors in here, and she helped put this little piece of work together, independently published, and just out there to support those who wanted to write some short stories. So, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to read one of those short stories. We're going to be reading Ultimatum by Julie Quay from the United States of America. I say the United States of America because, for example, Vanessa Finity is from South Africa. I want to say we had an author from Denmark or the Netherlands. Um, this is a global gathering of people. There's a number of people from the United States of America, but there are people from other various locations across the world. So when you read through, one thing that Vanessa was very good about doing was making sure that the spelling and things like that matched with the region that the person came from. Thus, the reason for saying that this story is from the United States of America, because if you are reading it, it will have Americanized spelling. If you read some of the other stories, they may have spellings from other places. So, let's go. We're going to get started with Ultimatum by Julie Quay from the United States of America after I drink just a little bit here. As always, I will be recording this and I will post it up to my YouTube channel after the program tonight. If you do have any questions about it, I am one of the authors in Space Wizards, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. You may also scan that QR code. That will bring you to Vanessa's site, where it will give you some links to be able to purchase the book, as well as find out a little bit more about Space Wizards. So, without further ado, here we go. Ultimatum by Julie Quay from the United States of America. I knocked on Lewis's dressing room door, my eyes scanning back down the carpeted hallway. No sign of Adrian peeking around a corner. Thank the stars. That little shit had eavesdropped on me for the last time. "Who is it?" Lewis called from inside his posh suite. I'd stage whispered my answer, in case Adrian lurked out of sight. "You decent old man? I need to talk to you." "Snowman, get in here," he answered. "Why all the whispering?" His usual pre-show impatience permeated his heavy door. I drew in a deep breath and went inside. He sat on a wheeled stool, facing away from the vanity mirror, his frilly tuxedo shirt untucking from his satiny pants as he struggled to pull on those thigh-high black patent leather boots he wore every show. I wanted to tease him about that gut he'd grown since we acquired Tambelin, the new cook, but I figured it would be kinder and easier to skip the banter. Let the trapeze fly. He tossed me one unruly boot, his face still flushed from too much bending over. "Help me with these," he insisted. "And with 15 minutes to opening curtain? What are you doing down here?" I might have asked him the same question. But in 20-plus years of traveling with the Louis Bordeaux Intergalactic Menagerie and Flying Circus, I'd yet to see Louis, the founder, owner, ringleader, star, and stout heart of our show, exude anything but nervous irritation and fiddle farting in the final few minutes before showtime. Even wizards get pre-performance jitters. The perfect time to land my bombshell on him. I pulled the old shoe-fitting stool out from against the wall. Lewis's beloved mackerel Tabby, who had long used it as a shelter, used her cushy bed. Over her cushy bed, gave me a dirty look and went back to her catnap. I positioned the stool's ramp toward Lewis and straddled its low seat. With both my hands holding the boot open, his right foot glided easily down its long neck and fit snugly into the shoe. My hand stayed gripped on Lewis's thick calf. His puzzled eyes jerked up to meet mine. "It comes to this," I said, finding the grit to say what I'd rehearsed to my vanity mirror a gazillion times. "That boy is trouble, and you know it." Lewis's eyes narrowed, but I kept on before I lost my nerve. I refuse to let him tear apart what we've worked so hard to build. So either he goes, I picked up the second boot, unfurling it with a satisfying snap, or I go. There, I'd said it. Score one for the snowman. Not as if Lewis and I hadn't argued about almost everything in 47 years of friendship, with 23 years of that as business partners. But on this subject, Lewis had the blackest of blind spots. He crossed his arms over his big chest. "My nephew has a name, you know." "You're right, Lewis. Adrian made quite a name for himself in his year working with us." I dropped his second boot and counted off offenses on my long, bony fingers. "Money missing whenever he mans the ticket sales booth." Lewis rolled his eyes in dismissal. I continued. "Complaints about his inappropriate advances from every female performer on our staff." Lewis's lips puckered, but he gave no hint of concession. Still I continued. "Animals gone missing. 3 rats and a rabbit in the last month. Always when Adrian's on the feeding rounds. Explain that to the animal board, Lewis." I felt my face redden with rage, my white hair brightening a few shades with the increased blood flow to my head. Lewis turned his gaze to the ceiling as he spoke. "And how many times have we encountered Galactico out here, Few horses had ever been beaten deader than this one, but still, the mention of the intergalactic police could chill me faster than the cold void of space through which we traveled. Lewis brought angry eyes back to mine. "Not once," he shouted. "Not once in 23 years. But we pay their fees, follow their rules, account for our animal births and deaths and illnesses. We take an inventory and report it every day at the right time, or face more fees and fines." He closed his eyes and took a long, noisy breath. "They don't patrol. They exist only to take our money. If Adrian wants to sell a few small animals on the side, I don't." "He's trying to sneak magical animals on board," I interrupted him. "Any of these should have been reason enough to turn Adrian into alligator food. This one, though, should have allowed us to first throw him into the deep fryer, then toss him to the alligators. I've heard him ask vendors on Fotis, on Trifig, on World 545 about what it would cost to buy eggs and larvae, embryos of magical creatures." My friend's eyes went half-mast with disgust. Not for his nefarious nephew, but for me. "He's still young, a little immature," Lewis started on what had become his lead-in to the litany of excuses for Adrian's behavior. "You know he'll eventually figure it out, as you did once upon a time." Indeed, once upon a time, even a whiff of those memories would have caused me to back down. A New Orleans street hustle life until age 18 when I'd met Lewis. How he had gotten me my first real job at the rodeo he worked. How his friendship had given me something to believe in and become. But I wouldn't back down tonight. I stood up from the stool, towering over my friend. "Listen, Lewis. It's one thing to piss away the money, whether by carelessness or theft or by Galactico's greedy hand. It is quite another to live out the rest of your days on some unpatrolled, unplotted penal planet in the Outer Rim. And that's what we'll get if they catch us selling our Earth animals." I paused to pick up his left boot again. "But magical animals?" I offered a hand to take his left foot, but Lewis kept it flat on the floor. "You are one powerful wizard, and your talents dazzle here on the show. But up against those creatures? How do you know some slimy little space slug won't contaminate the whole ship with some weird disease? Or eat all of our animals in one sitting?" Before I could take the what-ifs to an even scarier place, Lewis, his eyes closed, shook his head in refusal, and continued his litany of letting Adrian off the hook. I lowered my voice to a whisper and interrupted him again. "He knows about us, Lewis. The biggest gun I could pull on him. He knows we're shifters." A few seconds passed before either of us spoke. Lewis's face turned ashen. Over 2 galaxies, space shifters had been hunted, to almost extinction for all we knew. Certainly, we almost never spoke of it, let alone indulged in that powerful transition from man to beast. Long ago, in an abandoned rodeo stall, Lewis had recognized the latent power in me, coaxing me into unleashing the scaly horned alligator I'd held within, while he muscled into a great Alaskan brown bear. The thought of anyone as young and immature as Adrian knowing such private, dangerous information about us brought fresh bile burning up my esophagus. I repeated what I'd come here to say. Either the kid goes, or I go. I tossed his remaining boot on the fitting stool, turned, and walked out. My legs shook a little as I walked down the carpeted hallway. So many things about Adrian I hadn't brought up. That smart-ass smirk. Those dead eyes. Like snake eyes. Once blue, but now an eerie orange color since having them done back in Grahoveth Canyon, the Marlberg system's most renowned haven for body alterations. I'd cornered Lewis about Adrian back when that all went down, but never with an ultimatum looming behind it. I wondered if what I'd said would ruin his opening act tonight. Would he miss with that fireman's axe? Oh, who was I kidding? Lewis never missed. Any errors in his own strength or his visual acumen could always be corrected by his magical tweaking. That axe always found its target. Too bad Adrian couldn't be that target, I mused. Not for the first time. And what if Lewis didn't send Adrian packing to some other galactic port of call? Would I have the spine to keep my promise? I couldn't imagine life without the show. Our crew, always so loyal to both of us. The animals, whom I always felt more at home with than the staff. The traveling from planet to planet. So many fascinating worlds to wake up in. And Lewis, a fascinating world of all of his own. I could barely remember a time without my friend. How could I ever exist without him? As I climbed the circular staircase to the left backstage area, the tension left me. The old familiar crackle of pre-show energy focused me, as it always did, on the thousand tiny details behind the scenes that I loved keeping in order. One walked through the prop room and I could identify any ball, scarf, hat, rubber chicken, or water pistol missing or out of order. One glance up at the spaghetti tangle of ropes, nets, and wires hanging overhead, and I knew which ones needed tightening, how many to replace while we traveled, and which flips and jumps our trapeze artists planned to perform without having to consult the night's trick list. As close to doing magic as I'd ever get. But I was no showman. Let Lewis and his colorfully costumed cast take the bows in front of the curtain. My black-clad backstage hands and I heard that same applause and knew, without us, there'd be no them. The opening music burst forth in a blare of trumpets and snare drum rolls. Lewis, who must have taken the staircase up to the right side of backstage, flounced out into the spotlight in his red sequined overcoat and ridiculous Victorian-era top hat. He'd managed to avoid me and arrive on stage with both boots on, I noticed. I couldn't help a wry smile. By the time he sailed through the introductory welcome and the first of many lame jokes, my consummate showman had already reeled that audience right in. At least my ultimatum hadn't thrown off his timing. Right on cue, Zaviata, our top gymnast, flitted out next to him in a graceful whirl of mint green and gold. Perpendicular to the floor, a hoop, a lightweight 36-inch ring of sparkly polypropylene, floated around her as if she spun and pirouetted across the stage floor. No magic, all achieved by Zaviata's incredible balance, lightning-fast touch, and years of practice with that hoop. Definitely magical in my book, and the eager audience agreed. She and Lewis had led with this opening act for a few seasons, and the simplicity of it always amazed me. No elephant march, no cast of thousands parading through the audience. Only the two of them. A delicate tease. Lewis trying to free the fairy princess from her hoop prison cell, the hoop deflecting every prop he tossed, turning it into something more dazzling. A plain tennis ball bounced off, into a shower of confetti. A basketball changed into a bouquet of orange flowers. And you guessed it, Lewis's fireman axe, thrown the whole width of the stage, about to decapitate Zaviata, but knocked aside in the last micro-instant by the downward trajectory of that hoop from overhead. Lewis's axe turned into a swan, taking graceful flight over the hooting swell of the adoring audience. That's when I spotted Adrian. He sat in the front row. I could barely make him out, with only the spotlight on for Lewis and Zeviata as they took deep bows of gratitude. But I recognized that dead-eyed stare. What was he doing in the audience? From under his feet, he pulled up something flat, holding it up by a handle in his fist, clearly wanting me to see it. From my backstage vantage point, its sparkly finish caught the spotlight. It was Zeviata's storage case for her hoop. A flat suitcase, like a bygone artist's portfolio bag. No one was allowed to touch that case except Zeviata, Lewis, and me. What was that little shit up to? The music picked up again, the lights blazed, and now the cast of thousands burst onto the scene. Lewis and Zeviata made an elegant spin back to the opposite side of backstage. Not before I caught both their eyes. They'd seen him too. Zeviata's green eyes smoldered with anger. Hardly her first run-in with Adrian's antics. Lewis actually looked a little shaken. He tugged at his white curls until they stood up like the sticky, sickly sweet tuft candy we sold on sticks out in the concession area. I dodged out of the way of Armigo's horse troop, losing sight of Adrian behind the dozen plumed and groomed beauties. Back in place, I looked out at the front row again. To my horror, his seat was empty. The case gone. I panned the wide theater. No one in the aisles. No sparkly flash of the hoop case. The music built and built, and I realized too late that he had planned this perfectly. Right on cue, 6 overhead confetti cannons fired showers of wrapped chocolate and saltwater taffy candies out over the audience, all of it propelling gently down on our fine paying customers. And faster than you could say Tootsie Roll, hundreds of people dove in and out of the aisles, shoveling up as much as they could hold. Adrian had an easy getaway. I turned and ran down the backstage stairs. I had no idea where he'd go, but clearly he wanted me to follow him. And oh, I would. Hell, if I found him, I would shift right in public for anyone to see. Turn that little shit into alligator food once and for all. I took the service elevator down to the East Animal Pens, the lowest point on our ship. It pained me to admit that Adrian, for all his breaking the most serious of animal rules, had an affinity for the creatures. Lewis usually threw that back in my face whenever I started piling on the reasons to hate Adrian. Today, all the animals in these cages along the walk were quiet, their usual behavior for this time of day. And the same went for the larger animal halls on the floors above. Adrian had not come down here. As much as I wanted to curl up around Crunchy, our longtime alligator in residence, I needed to find the little shit, confront him, and maybe even... I was getting too far ahead of myself. The elevator doors opened back onto the main floor, and Tamblyn, in his spotless white chef jacket and with his glowing dark bald head, grabbed me by the sleeve. "Been looking everywhere for you, Snowman. Nobody knows where you went." "You seen Adrian?" I asked, ignoring his comment. "No, but you have to come with me now. I told you already this week. The big oven keeps coming on." Frustration mounted in my chest. Tamblyn might have increased staff morale tenfold with his great food, but his nitpicky insistence on my fixing his broken kitchen equipment before doing any other repairs around the ship had worn my patience threadbare. "Tamblyn," I said, emphasizing my every word, "I will look at it later. Right now, I need to find..." A rumbling noise came from the other side of the wall. We'd stopped, I realized, alongside the long outer wall of the big oven. Not since the days of pre-show dinner had we used the big oven. No one had been happier about painting over the "and dinner theater" portion of our name on the side of the spaceship. Feeding a full-time interplanetary circus staff and its animals is a big job. Feeding the whole audience before the show started bordered on insanity. Turning the big oven into a storage room had been one of my favorite days since joining the show. But it's broken, I said. I closed my eyes and gave a heavy massage to the bridge of my nose. It hasn't worked in years. It never worked right, I added, remembering that Tamblyn hadn't had the pleasure of filling the big oven with 1,000 portions of meat to cook, only to come back 15 minutes later and find the whole thing had turned off, or broken down, or had spewed water from its steam jets onto your as yet uncooked dinners that should be going onto plates in 10 minutes. Another rumble came from inside, as if whole shelves had fallen off its inside walls. Tamblyn was already hustling down the hall and around the corner to the big oven's door. I pictured Adrian hiding Zaviada's hoop case in a compromising place, or filling it full of baby rabbits and setting it inside the land transport, bound for a meeting tomorrow with some seedy buyer. 5 minutes, I promised myself. A 5-minute surmise about what had made the flame come back on, and a quick assessment of how much we'd lost to burned up inventory. Tamblyn stood ready to open the heavy door for me. The awful odor of burning oil and plastic already seeped out into the hall. My mind ran through what we kept in this big out-of-the-way storage unit. Old equipment kept for parts, spare tools in plastic storage bins, rows and rows of metal baking racks, extra supplies of kitchen chemicals. If anything had caught fire, I could probably smother it by closing the door and making sure the flue was closed. I still kicked myself for spending any time on this. A small containable kitchen fire. Find the nearest Class K extinguisher or call Lewis down to put it out. Tamblyn wrenched open the door. An oily blast of smoke belched out, burning my eyes immediately. But not before I saw what had set the fire. Not a faulty wire, not a weird chemical spill, and not an errant flame. In that big room, flying around on sooty wings, were two small dragons. A tiny part of me delighted to see this. Hadn't I just warned Lewis about this? Dragons secreted onto our ship. The little shit had done it. Carack! One of them screeched at me, throwing a long yellow flame from its wide throat. I spun around, slamming the door shut with my back, feeling the heat even through the thick, insulated metal door. Tamblyn's eyes bulged like two marbles in his head. "What was that?" "Pets," I answered, summoning up my last ounce of snark for the day. "Look, don't open this, whatever you do." The poor man had already started to back away from the scene without my warning. "I'll get Lewis, and this will all go away." I'm not sure I believed it myself, but I managed a brave face. I walked back toward the elevator and remembered one more important thing. "Tamblyn," I called from around the corner. "If you see Adrian, you call me right away." I got onto the elevator and headed back up to the theater. Lewis had also gone missing, according to everyone backstage. How many times had I encouraged him to use the headset to communicate while the performance went on? "Too primitive," he'd insisted. "I know at a glance what my people are thinking." Did he know right now that I was again thinking about tossing Adrian into Crunchy's feeding trough? I made my way into the props room. No Adrian, no surprise, and no Lewis. I could see where we were in the program, though, by which props were set out. Colorful ribbons for the aerial dance, a little clown bike, Lewis's fireman axe. Wherever he'd gone, he'd be back soon. Dmitri, our OCD safety director, had hung a new yellow fire hose alongside the extinguisher in this room. Without Lewis's help, I might need to play Dragon Slayer on my own, but I'd go adequately armed. I reached out to lift the extinguisher off the wall when, flash, a yellow knife stabbed my face. A heavy weight knocked my arms back down, and the new yellow fire hose threw itself off its hook, landing around my neck and chest like I was a child's ring toss peg. It was a snake, a massive pile of writhing, ringing muscle, squeezing, squeezing, while its dead orange eye stayed locked on mine. I gasped a last breath and shapeshifted, but the snake was below the reach of my gnashing gator teeth and still crushing me around my chest. I thrashed. I shook. I knocked the prop table over with a loud crash. But no scaly armor, no horned claws of mine could get me even a single breath. I'm going to die, I thought, with a last struggle against my bonds. A few small black dots formed at the periphery of my vision, and I almost let go. Then the prop room door opened and Lewis, still in his full ringleader costume, bounded inside. His transition to Alaskan brown bear was a blurred streak of red sequins and rippling brown fur as the great muscled beast lunged across the room. Gleaming fangs and all four claws gouged the snake's tough flesh. Lewis's weight pulled us down into a wild knot of coiled sinew, writhing plates, and quivering muscle. My head banged hard against the floor, and I shifted back into a man. But the great snake was bleeding out under Lewis's mighty jaws. The squeezing stopped, and in a wink, Lewis was also a man again. He yanked those thick coils from around my neck and torso. Two brawny, sequined arms dragged that snake's heavy bulk to the opposite side of the room. The thing must have been 20 feet long and well over 75 lunar pounds. Lewis, breathing hard from his exertion, grabbed that snake's ugly yellow head and smashed it again, again, again into the concrete wall. I was still gasping for air. The damned thing must have partially crushed my windpipe. My head felt like someone had drilled a hole in it. I closed my eyes and focused on breathing, praying this was over. I opened them again, and there in the place of the yellow python was Adrian. Blood covered his face and half-crushed head. Lewis stood over him, panting hard. He pulled off his red overcoat and threw it onto the floor. Adrian's orange snake eyes had not turned all the way human yet, and over the jackhammering in my brain, I wondered if, at last, Lewis would take my side. My old friend turned away then, fumbling around on the table for his favorite prop. Even I couldn't help but get a little weepy for my friend's decision. He spun back around, the axe high over his head. He is still never missed with that axe. If you enjoyed this short story, check out the rest of the short stories in Space Wizards Volume 1, available at many different online retailers. All right, guys, what did you think about Ultimatum from Space Wizards? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Was it good for you? I hope so. I hope you enjoyed that reading. That is just one of the 10 stories available for you in Space Wizards. Once again, if you would like to check out Space Wizards, Scan that QR code right on your screen or Google Space Wizards Volume 1, and it will probably bring you to some of the different areas where Space Wizards Volume 1 can be found. I also happen to know that they are looking for authors for Space Wizards Volume 2. If you happen to be an author and you are interested in joining this monthly crew of authors, or this fantastic grouping of independent authors, put in your submission. Check out Vanessa Affinity's website, and you too can find more about how to get involved with Space Wizards Volume 2. And let me check through really quick. I am not seeing any questions from anybody out here. So that is going to end our reading for this evening. A little bit short of normal, but I don't have another thing to fill up the next 10 minutes, so that's where we're going with. On, let's see, today is Tuesday. On Saturday, we will be starting our next live read. Let's go see if I can see what it is really quick. I don't have it right off of the top of my head, but let's see. Okay, so that one is done now. I think this one is the next one. I will look into it. But yes, we definitely have another indie author live read that is coming to you very soon, and I hope that you will enjoy it. Look for my posting on Twitter, X, and I will be posting up a little bit later this week what that reading will be, so that way you can prepare. No matter which way, I hope you stop out, check out any of the independent authors that I have featured through these live reads. All of the chapters available on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist set up just for those independent authors. Stop out there and check out some of the many fantastic indie authors that we have read, and you can also stop out and support them through the various places where they are housed. Until this Saturday, thank you. The greatest gift that you can give me is the gift of your time, and I appreciate that you guys gave me the gift of yours this evening, whether it was for 5 minutes or whether it was for the full stream. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you have not already done so, I would ask that you do stop by the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius. Subscribe to the channel. Your support there helps me to provide the support for our indie authors. And the larger the channel, the greater the reach to new people for these indie authors. Until this Saturday, have a great week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you guys all again really soon. Good night, everyone.